Today I'm going to be talking about the 2019 Netflix film Velvet Buzzsaw starring Jake Gyllenhaal, directed by the same director as Nightcrawler, which I think was a masterpiece. And I absolutely adored Nightcrawler, so I thought, okay, this is a Netflix film. I didn't even know a thing about this movie, didn't even know what it was about. I just saw it had Jake Gyllenhaal, directed by the same person as Nightcrawler, Netflix film. Check this out. Apparently it did come out in January this year, so it is quite a recent film. And for the majority part, I loved a lot of things in this film, but this is easily the most frustrating film I've seen all year. Not because I never felt a grasp on the story, not because I didn't understand it, because I was just so hard to form an opinion on this movie. And it was really, really difficult. If you don't know a single thing about what this movie's about, like I didn't, this video may contain mild spoilers, but if you know what it's about, then it shouldn't bother you at all. But I would recommend seeing the film, though, because there's a lot of amazing technical qualities in this film that I really appreciate, and I'm going to talk to you about the positives I have with it first. Starting off, Jake Gyllenhaal, incredible in this movie. His performance is amazing as this art critic. Every time he's sat there looking at a painting, it's really, really intriguing, and it's really entertaining to watch. I really loved his character in the movie. There wasn't enough character moments with these characters. I felt there's a lot of really interesting performances, but there never was any character development or anything happening. I liked some of the things that Jake Gyllenhaal was doing in the movie, but he wasn't really the main focus, and the main focus characters I honestly didn't like at all. But Jake Gyllenhaal pretty much saved most of the entire film for me. He kept it entertaining when it wasn't entertaining. And before we move on to most of my negatives with the film, a few of the positives are the film looks fantastic. It's visually stunning. Again, it is very an arty film. It's about art, and saying that, it does look beautiful. All the scenes with the art gallery, some of the pictures and paintings are really great. Some of the imagery is fantastic. There's some really haunting imagery. There's some really incredible visually looking scenes. It's a really well directed film, and it's literally just worth seeing for those two things. And for the most part, this film is pretty much like two completely different movies, both of which I loved. And it's pretty much like this character piece, like Nightcrawler, for Jake Gyllenhaal's character as this critic art, but it never really focuses too much on his character to make us care. But there's so many great moments with this character that I honestly thought were masterfully made. And then there's a completely other part of the movie, which may be a complete spoiler, but the film focused a lot heavily on this, which I had no idea it would do. The film's pretty much a horror movie in some places, where paintings come to life and murder people. And it's sort of able to have both of those films interweaved with each other in the same story. And that was my biggest issue with the movie. It never worked. That never worked. That is a potential for two amazing films. A character piece with Jake Gyllenhaal, fantastic. Sold already. Amazing. And an incredible horror movie where people are taken over by paintings that turn to life and kill people in murderous intent because they're getting benefit from this man's art. That was a great message, and I loved both of those ideas. This movie is filled with fantastic ideas like that. It just never coherently worked as one story. One way they could have fixed this, though, I feel it never puts enough screen time to each of these things. It's like I was just getting into this moment here, and then it does all this horror stuff, and it breaks me out that moment, but I like the horror stuff. Then all the horror stuff ends, and it goes back to this, and it just never worked. Tonally, this film is a complete mess. Plot-wise, it's also a bit of a mess as well. There are some things that happen that just don't really make much sense, and the film just brushes over it like it didn't happen, and goes on to a completely different style of film. When the film is an arty film, I loved it. When it was a horror film, I thought it was really entertaining. But those two things just didn't work well together for me, and they're interweaved into the film, supposed to make some form of coherent narrative, and it never worked. The film tries to put a message across, which I understood, but I didn't think it worked for a part of the film, but it worked for another part. And in some ways, I really did like what this film was trying to convey, and I thought it actually did convey it well. It didn't push it in your face too much, but sometimes the imagery it shows just doesn't really occur to what's happening, and sometimes it very does leave you very unsatisfied with what you're watching, and sometimes you just can't comprehend the choices that happen in this movie. And it was really started to bug me after a while, and the film could have been incredible. It could have been fantastic, but that was easily the biggest issue for me. But putting that aside, with the film feeling very incoherent, there's a way that they could have fixed it. Maybe I think it actually would have worked as a TV series, because maybe it would have given more time to certain areas of the film. And maybe the whole horror aspect and the artsy aspect would have worked really well together. But it just both of them things meshed together just made for a really uneven movie. That the biggest problem I have with it is that I didn't really fully enjoy watching it, but I really enjoyed watching some scenes, and a lot of it was really, really well made, and a lot of it did really intrigue me. It just never really went anywhere, and they could have done a really good mystery sort of movie, but they didn't really go for it that far. And whenever I thought I was really getting into one side of the film, it just drew me back out. It never felt boring, though. I was always intrigued to see what would happen. There's a lot of scenes with characters just talking, mainly in the first half of the film. And to be honest, none of those scenes were actually boring, but none of them actually added anything to the story. None of them, which I was fine with, but none of them added anything to any character. It was just introducing us to some things, so it makes us care later, but actually we probably don't. And some of the film just didn't work. But saying that, this is a really well-directed film. Jake Gyllenhaal's incredible performance, and to be honest, everything in this movie, I actually loved. I loved everything it did. It just, none of it worked well together. And that's why it's such a hard movie to grade, because its positives are so high, and I love the technical quality of this film, and it definitely is worth seeing for that. And even though it's not entertaining, I really do appreciate the craft of the filmmaking in this movie. It's really, really good. But it just really didn't work for me. And the more I think about it, though, the more I do find more positives within, the more it works better. But the movie just frustrates me, because as soon as after I finished watching it, I was like, that's bad. I did not like that. That did not work. But the more I think about it, the more I think of how much I did love certain aspects of the movie. It's just that all the aspects I did love never felt like it was one movie. Never felt like it was one continuing story. But the same thing, I was invested to see what would happen next, but it never really led anywhere. Still, it's really worth seeing. It's on Netflix now. Check it out if you can. I'm really struggling to grade this film, because again, its positives are so high, but its negatives are so low. I'm going to give Velvet Buzzsaw a B-. This grade isn't really stuck. I don't really feel like giving this one an enjoyability rating, because I don't really feel like the film is meant to have a rating like that. But, again, this rating may go up, it may go down. I liked the film, I appreciated it, but I didn't fully enjoy it. But still, comment down below your opinions on Velvet Buzzsaw if you did see it. Of course, thank you for watching, and goodbye.